It is December 3rd, 2024, and this is your edition of Game on Hockey, presented by the Game Over Network. I'm Graham Mosimann, and we're going to go on a quick ripper on the world of hockey in 10 minutes or less with all the big, fun, new stuff you need to know for the day. Before we get that going, though, later on today, or earlier today, depending on when you listen to this or watch it, there will be a brand new episode of Hyperdrive Hockey out from our pals Max, Daphne, and Kevin. Now, they will be getting into the very cool minutia of hockey that we don't necessarily have the time for here on Game on Hockey, diving into the big issues, breaking it all down, and extrapolating and analyzing things from a decidedly French-Canadian perspective. It's one of my favorite shows. You should give it a listen if you haven't already. You can find it wherever fine podcasts are sold or on the Game Over Network YouTube channel. Okay, we're starting with a really sweet moment yesterday as Guy Gaudreau, the father of the late Johnny and Matthew, joined the Calgary Flames for practice yesterday. It's going to be emotional for this team and these families. I really hope that this is like the last big public thing that this family has to do, because you're still going through the grieving process. Like, that happened only a couple weeks before the season started, but it was still really sweet and lovely to see. Both the Flames and Columbus have said how much it means that Johnny and Matthew's dad has been able to come out to practices, and those teams will face off in Calgary this evening. Now, I'm not sure if you remember, but right after those events, there were thousands of hockey sticks left on the kind of the field, the embarkment, I'd call it, outside the Saddle Dome in Calgary. And the Flames took those sticks and had them made into a bunch of benches. Like these beautiful, cool little hockey benches that they're going to be putting in local arenas all around Calgary and southern Alberta. And so the Gaudreau family got to be on hand for the delivery of the very, very first one of those benches. So it was a really sweet moment. It was really lovely amidst a very sad situation. But I really hope, now that Calgary and Columbus, they played their two games together against each other this season, that we can let this moment go for a little bit and let the Gaudreau family be. So, really weird stat, and I'm all about the really strange stats here on Game on Hockey, a presentation of the Game Over Network. One of the weirdest stats I think I've ever seen is the New Jersey Devils this season are 15-0 when going into the third period with a lead. Now, when a team goes into the third period with a lead, more often than not, they're going to win. That's how hockey works. You have one team that is going to be pushing to try to make the score up and gets a little lax defensively. Another team that has clearly been able to find some hole in that other team's defense, or has just gotten lucky enough and is riding that confidence. Generally, that's how it goes. But there's always a few games that a team just kind of barfs away. Hello, Toronto, or Ottawa, or Edmonton. Look, a lot of good teams barf away games in the third period. If you're playing the New Jersey Devils, though, they will not let it happen. And the Devils are such a fascinating team to watch. And it's so incredible the difference that competent goaltending and a non-wounded defense can make to a team. Because the Devils last year, they could score. Their forward depth wasn't amazing, but they had the ability to push a team offensively. They just couldn't hold up anything on their own end when you're losing one of the best defensemen in the game, named Dougie Hamilton, for almost all of the season. And you have a goaltending tandem, not even a tandem, a goaltending. It's not even what's the negative of a three-headed monster? A three-headed gelatinous blob? It was terrible, but you let Jake Allen go for a little bit. You bring in Jacob Markstrom finally, and the Devils. I don't think going into this year, I had the Devils as being the absolute best team in the Metropolitan, but they clearly are. With the Washington Capitals rapidly approaching as the second best team in that division, a thing we all assumed was going to happen. Speaking of the Washington Capitals, 2 weeks after busting his gosh dang fibula, Alexander Ovechkin is back skating. So not only is it going to be really fun to watch the chase for Gretzky's record restart again, the Capitals are going to need Ovi to come back for this push at the end of the season, or this kind of mid part, because look, they've been great in his absence. Pierre-Luc Dubois looks like the guy that you expected him to be when he was drafted third overall by Jarmo Kekalainen. He's physical. He is protecting the puck. He is scoring really well. There's a really great article over on The Athletic about how the Washington Capitals have been able to unlock Pierre-Luc Dubois. Very much worth your time if you have a subscription to that particular place. Even though they are owned by the New York Times, which is still really weird. But anyway, I digress. The Washington Capitals have no signs of slowing down in their ability as a team. Very, very cool to see. They're an absolute chaos crew. And when you have them sitting just 1 point behind the New Jersey Devils and the Metropolitan right now, Carolina Hurricanes a point, 2 points behind that, and then to get to the wild card, there is a 6-point differential between the New York Rangers, who are tied with the Philadelphia Flyers, by the way. Standings are all kind of weird and spooky, but look, it's the post-Thanksgiving part of the season, so here's where the standings really, really start to kind of matter and get important. Speaking of the all-important post-U.S. Thanksgiving standings rundown, where, what is the stat, 84% of teams in playoff spots will end up making it. As everything shakes out right now, if we're taking a look at the Eastern Conference, you have the Florida Panthers taking on the New York Hockey Rangers, as they are Atlantic 1 versus Wildcard 1. Atlantic 2 and Atlantic 3 are the Maple Leafs and Bruins, so oh boy, Leafs fans, get hyped for that one again. Metropolitan 1 will be taking on Wildcard 2, which would leave us with a Capitals-Flyers matchup, and then the Devils would take on the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, what about the Western Conference? Against all odds, the Calgary Flames are still in a playoff position. I really want them to make it. Even as an Edmonton fan, I want it to happen. We have right now the Wild taking on the Flames, the Dallas Stars, and the Winnipeg Jets. A rematch of a couple years ago as the Golden Knights and the Oilers would go at it. And then you have the Kings and the Vancouver Canucks as well. That doesn't look crazy to me as a possible playoff run. But, hey, we'll see how it all shakes out. I don't care how it works out, as long as the Oilers end up making it. Because if they don't, I'm not ready for that level of existentialism for myself quite yet. That'll wrap us up for this episode of Game on Hockey. Now, tonight, if you want to get some game over games in you, that playoff preview could be happening as the Oilers take on the Golden Knights. We'll have game over Edmonton this evening. Columbus and Calgary. Game over Calgary will be up. There will be a game over Winnipeg as the Jets take on the Blues, and a game over Vancouver as the Canucks take on the Wild. And oh boy, we're not done yet. There will be also a game over Montreal as the Habs take on the New York Islanders. Have yourself a wonderful day, friendo. We will talk tomorrow here on Game on Hockey.